begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please.
Then walk her right up back. You should ride a green trail and end up in
We're good. Is the TV or the online or streaming, whatever you call it? All right. Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started. Welcome to a nice summer day in New York City. Feels beautiful out, right? I'm going to call the meeting of the directors of the New York State Urban Development Corporation doing business as Empire State Development for this Thursday, February 16th, 2023. We have a lot of staff members on the phone with us. I just ask you all to keep your phones on mute until it's your turn to make a presentation. So the public was given an opportunity to both attend this meeting and to provide comments to all the agenda items on our agenda, and I'll note for the record that there's nobody from the public at this meeting, and we did not receive any comments from the public on any of the agenda items. The directors, as always, have been given all of the materials and backup materials for all the different items that we will be taking action on today. 9:34 a.m. If there's any potential conflict of interest with any respect to any agenda item from any board member, please note so on the record, so we can note it on the record when we come to that item. And that is it for the formalities. I'm going to go right to our agenda items. The approval of the minutes of January 19th, 2023. I'll move them. John seconds them. Any comments, revisions, additions? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The minutes are approved. I will now hand it over to our esteemed President and CEO, Hope Knight, for her President's report.
Thank you, Kevin, and good morning, directors. Earlier this month, Governor Hochul unveiled her 2024 executive budget, and I had the opportunity to testify before the legislature about the governor's budget last week. As I told the legislature, New York is finally emerging from a pandemic that has weighed on the state's economy for almost 3 years. This year, we have an opportunity to shift our focus from recovery to growth. Governor Hochul's $227 billion executive budget aims to spur new and inclusive economic development. It aims to strengthen our business communities and help all New Yorkers achieve the New York dream. Some key economic priorities in the budget include $425 million to support local economies, including $225 million in grants and tax credits for the regional councils, $58.5 million to support tourism, and $45 million for GoSemi, the Governor's Office of Semiconductor Expansion, Management, and Integration, to lead the growth of the state's semiconductor industry. The budget includes an unprecedented commitment to the film and entertainment industry, making New York competitive with other states. It also proposes matching funds for small business, is applying for federal grants through the Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer programs. These grants will help our small businesses develop and commercialize groundbreaking technology right here in New York. We're also updating Startup New York. The program will be called EPIC, short for Extended Prosperity and Innovation Campuses. Upstate and downstate locations will have the same requirements, benefits, and eligibility criteria, and will also support a wider range of businesses and increase the amount of eligible space dedicated to growing innovation and creating jobs. Earlier this month, I was on the east side of Buffalo to announce the launch of the $3 million Small Business Working Capital Grant Program. This program will provide grants to small businesses in a designated area on the east side of Buffalo. These are primarily minority-owned businesses that have been dealing with the social and economic impacts of the TOPS tragedy last year. The grants can be used for things like renovations, new equipment, to pay rent, or to lift up and grow these businesses. I remember visiting the city with the governor in the wake of the tragedy. The amount of fear, anger, and sadness from that senseless act of violence was overwhelming. Everyone wondered how the community would ever recover. But with tremendous effort and a spirit of determination, they continue to make progress. As we know from Paul Tronolone's recent board presentation, this program is just one of the several major initiatives that was under the governor's leadership, and ESD is making and bringing change and progress to the east side of Buffalo. Finally, I'd like to recognize some staff updates. Laura O'Sullivan has joined ESD as our Finger Lakes Regional Director. She previously served as the president for the commissary, the region's first food incubator, and as vice president of the Rochester Downtown Development Corporation. Tanaya Srini joined ESD this month as Senior Director of Digital Equity in our Connect All office. Most recently, she was a technology fellow with the Ford Foundation and a research manager at the National Housing Law Project. Allison Madmood has been promoted to Mohawk Valley Regional Director. She has served as Deputy Director for more than 6 years and succeeds Mike Reese, who retired at the end of last year. And also congratulations to Allison Kabir, who was promoted to Senior Vice President of Policy, Legislative Affairs, and Green Initiatives. Allison has been with ESD for more than 7 years, serving in a variety of program and policy roles. Please help me welcome and congratulate these team members. And with that, I conclude my report. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Always great to see you attract new talent to the organization and then also promote from within. I always think that's good for morale in an organization, and people think they have an opportunity to grow here too. So it's a nice blend that you seem to be doing. I have 2 questions for you. In your presentations to the legislature on the budget, did they raise any issues or concerns that we as board members should be aware of? Did they raise any concerns about oversight or questions or things that should be on our radar screen?
No, really focused on programs and items in the proposed budget.
Great. And the second one, not a trick question, but I remember when I was co-chairing the Long Island REDC when the Startup New York program was created, and we had some private non-SUNY colleges involved with our REDC, and they became eligible for a startup, and there was a board created to approve non-SUNY, And is that board going to continue in the EPIC program, or did that
It
go
will
away?
continue. It
Got
will
it.
continue, yes.
Got it. I know we have a lot of private universities always like to try to, compete with the SUNYs and want to be eligible for some of those benefits as well. So there'll still be that board.
Yes.
That's great, great. Any other board members have any questions for Hope? All right, well, thank you very much. Something I like to do always in the beginning of the meeting, and I forgot to do it, but honestly, I was waiting for Sherry to get here so we could all do it together, is, one, I want to visually recognize we have a quorum for this meeting, but for anybody who's watching as this meeting is streamlined and they may not know everybody around the horn, around the table, we should go around and just introduce ourselves. And I'll start again. Kevin Law, I'm the chair of ESD, and
I'm Sherry Gleed, I'm a director.
John Watt, the director.
Rob Simpson, Director.
Kevin Eunice, COO, ESD.
Arden Sacalo, EVP Real Estate, ESD.
Liz Luskin, EVP Small Business Technology Development.
Simone Betian, Senior Project Manager.
Martha Otero, VP of Entrepreneur Development and Operations.
Ray Celebrios, SVP, Small Business Capital Access Programs.
Matt Bray, Treasurer.
Ware Orlando, Chief Financial Officer.
Goldie Wexel, Acting Counsel.
Jennifer Teagan, Managing Director of New York Ventures.
Benson Martin, designee for DFS.
Hilda Rosario Escher, Director.
Hope Knight, President CEO.
great, thank you. And we got terrific staff helping us on the sides, including our great Debbie, who takes care of us and keeps us all in line. So thank you, Debbie, for everything that you and Jane do for us. Okay, so we will continue with the agenda. Next up, we have Ray Salabarios, our Senior VP for the Division of Small Business and Capital Access, with his sort of regular status report on some of the COVID-19 pandemic small business recovery program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, directors. The $800 million COVID-19 Pandemic Small Business Recovery Grant Program was created as part of the fiscal 2022 budget to assist COVID-19 impacted small businesses. The mission of the program was simple: to support the small businesses that typically have the least access to resources. To that end, the program strategically encouraged participation from micro businesses, social and economically disadvantaged business owners, minority and or women-owned businesses, and small businesses that did not receive adequate federal COVID-19 support. As of January 6, 2023, the program has successfully dispersed the entirety of the $760 million in available funding to 40,842 small businesses impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The program provided flexible grants of $5,000 to $50,000 with an average award of $18,608. As per the program's mission, 98% of the awards have gone to micro businesses, 48% of the awards have gone to social and economically disadvantaged small businesses, and 90% have gone to minority and or women-owned small businesses. Program grants generally represented a significant portion of an awarded small business's operating expenses, and the grant has helped small businesses recover from the devastating impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Grant awards from the program have allowed small businesses across the state to cover costs such as payroll, rent or mortgage payments, personal protective equipment expenses, utility bills, and any costs associated with compliance with the COVID-19 health and safety protocols. The small businesses targeted by the program, by definition, did not have access to the same resources as did the larger businesses in New York State. Therefore, to ensure the program's success, New York State deployed a suite of services to inform small businesses about the program and to help them complete their applications. These services included technical assistance to provide one-on-one assistance to over 37,683 applicants, delivering 854 informational webinars to small businesses throughout the state, and establishing a call center which logged over 494,436 calls with potential applicants. Additionally, ESD offered application materials in 15 languages, contacted applicants to allow opportunities to correct the applications, and engaged in extensive program promotion. Empire State is proud to the work done to ensure the success of the COVID-19 Pandemic Small Business Recovery Grant Program. While the impacts of the COVID-19 were devastating, the determination and commitment of the entities and individuals involved in developing and administering this program, and the cooperation of the businesses that applied, were unprecedented. Thank you, and I'll answer any questions if anyone has them.
Ray, I know we've been reading about a lot of the federal programs that went to help individuals and small businesses. Unfortunately, there were people who took advantage of the system, like they do, I guess, since time began. And if we come across something like that with our small businesses, any type of fraud or irregular behavior, what do we do about it? Do we refer it to the state controller, the state attorney general, or is it a federal referral, or do they just come and audit some of the stuff that we administer?
At this point in time, I'm proud to say that the fraud level is less than 0.5%. And when we have discovered fraud, we immediately send it to Inspector General for further review and determination.
Our Inspector General, ESD, or?
The state's
Yeah, state funds.
The state.
Right.
Oh, good. Okay, we all read about some of the issues with Department of Labor, and then with the tenant protection programs, there was a lot of,
When we started, that was top of mind from the very beginning, and I think we got a lot of direction from the directors as well to say, hey, let's make sure we aren't doing that. I just want to reiterate, I mean, the numbers that Ray is talking, 500,000 people got help on the phone line, right?
Yeah.
40,000 businesses got grants seamlessly with very little fraud. I mean, just credit to Ray and Pravina Ragavan, who was here when they set this up. Unbelievable.
That's great.
The amount of work and the help that they got to so many needy businesses. It's amazing.
no, those numbers do sound impressive. I remember the stories on the Paycheck Protection Program and stuff. They couldn't, pat themselves on the back as nicely. So that's good to hear, Ray, and we always appreciate your regular updates. Do any directors have questions for Ray?
Yeah.
Hilda?
So if the company received funding from SBA, did they still qualify?
But depending on the dollar amount, because we wanted to make sure that some of the PPP loans and the EIDL grants really wasn't as impactful as we would like them to be. So we set a limit of $250,000. If you receive less than $250,000 from the federal, from the SBA programs, you were eligible for a grant.
Thank you. Were there a lot of women that applied?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't have the exact number of women, but over 90% of the grants went to women and minority-owned businesses.
Oh, wow,
Thank you.
Seriously.
very significant. Any other questions for Ray? Nope.
Nice job.
Thanks, Ray. All right. We continue to get good feedback on these spotlight presentations. Board members continue to learn things. I know I learn things every meeting now about programs that we run. And so thanks for continuing to have staff provide overviews of certain aspects of what ESD does. And today, we have Jennifer Teagan, Managing Director of New York Ventures, to give us this month's spotlight presentation. Jennifer?
Thank you, directors. I'm excited for the opportunity to be able to share more information about New York Ventures. We're part of the Small Business Division along with Ray and under the guidance of Liz Luskin. And today I'm going to talk a little bit more about the various programs that we have, why they're important relative to economic development, and who we serve. New York Ventures, we're the hub of the state's venture capital investment activities, and we operate with a focus on providing and promoting economic development, obviously, but specifically for innovation companies. And we do that working with entrepreneurs, particularly those who have been challenged to access that capital, either by virtue of the industry that they're in, their personal background, or what region they're located in. And we look to support diverse entrepreneurs for those high growth companies across the state, and we do so in a way that we hope will help to maintain and secure a healthy and vibrant, economically vibrant future for New Yorkers. What is venture capital, though? It's an asset class that a lot of people aren't actually very familiar with. It's a very tiny percentage of overall GDP. It's about 0.1 to 0.2%, but it has an incredible economic impact overall. Venture capital, first and foremost, is about raising capital from institutions and individual investors. And they use that money, that capital, to finance new technologies, business models, and for rapidly growing companies. When a company receives venture capital, it's from investors who are actually purchasing an ownership stake in that business. So it's an equity position. And they have a long-term orientation. These are high-risk investments. They take a long time to return. And when they do return, hopefully they do, the way that they do for an investor is through a liquidity event, either an M&A or an IPO. So why does that matter relative to ESD and economic development generally? VC, generally VC is responsible for so many things that are important in our lives, or just ubiquitous to our lives today, from the Apple iPhone, and importantly, recently, the Moderna vaccine probably never would have seen the light of day without venture capital backing. But overall, for public companies founded in the past 50 years, those that are VC-backed account for more than 50% of those public companies, 75% by market value, 92% of the research and development dollars that are spent is from the venture-backed community of companies. And then importantly, also relative to job growth, 8 times the employment growth rate for venture-backed companies compared with their private counterparts. Now, how does that translate over to New York State? New York's, and this isn't a perfect, I'm talking about the technology sector here more broadly, some of which is served by venture capital, some of it isn't, but 7% of our workforce is employed by the technology sector. Those employees earn 85% more on average than they would in other industries. That growth rate of that industry in particular is 5% nationally, but in New York State itself, it's 52%, particularly in the high service or the services sector relative to technology. But how does that translate across the state? Not super well, to be honest. New York City is the powerhouse and has grown since 2010 by over 100%. The next nearest community is the capital region, which is only at 20%, and it goes down from there. So it's really overweighted relative to New York City, but and New York City itself, however, is now viewed as the number 2 startup ecosystem, not nationally, but in the world. And so, entrepreneurs are everywhere. So why is this important relative to what New York State can do to help the innovation economy and community? They're everywhere, but unfortunately, the access to that capital and availability is not. Our Black and Brown community receive less than 1% on average, and it's been in decline somewhat over the last couple of years. Women, the number and rate for women is similarly deplorable. It hovers around 2%, and it bounces around that number. So the underestimated founders are not getting their share of capital. Then again, the same statement I made a minute ago about New York City versus the rest of the state being that tiny little sliver. So we have a lot of underserved geographies related to innovation capital. And then finally, we care about it because honestly, if we don't, there are a lot of states out there looking to steal our innovators. So we're hoping that we can develop an innovation ecosystem that's both diverse and stretches across the entire state. How are we doing? So across our entire program, since the time that it was started, which I think was around 2011, the current form of New York Ventures, we've invested in about 200 companies, with 40% of those in New York City, the rest in outside of New York City. That has translated into $100 million of investment capital that's leveraged by over $350 million from the private sector. And then again, across the entire program, about 40% of our founders are of diverse background, gender, or minorities. But I want to also point out that the most active component of our program, which is the one that you see here a lot, the New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund, we're actually now at 70% of our founders and leaders are women or minority. Now, where do we play our role? You see that, I mostly want you to focus on that dip where the companies that are starting are needing a lot of capital to grow, and it's very hard for those founders to access that capital. So that's where New York Ventures and our programs come in. We have a variety, 4 different programs currently. And then they fall primarily into 2 buckets. We have direct investment programs where my team is literally investing directly in startups. The one that you're most familiar with is this one here, the Innovation Venture Capital Fund. The state initially funded that with $100 million of capital, and we've since put a little more federal funding into that with the State Small Business Credit Initiative. And I'll talk a little bit more about the details of that in a minute. We also have a pre-seed and seed fund to really target the various very early stages of those businesses. That was, again, from the federal funding that we just received for $30 million, and we launched that program in January of 2023, and it's on fire. We've already got more than nearly 200 applicants, or 270 applicants, I think, at this point. The indirect investment programs, so these are the programs where we invest through investment partners. So with that, we have the Emerging and Regional Partner Program Fund, where we're looking for fund managers, especially those that are of diverse background or serving regions that we are under-resourced. Where we put $102 million of federal funding into that. That launched in December, as well as an Accelerator Partnership Program Fund that we're doing with the NYSTAR team. That's $52 million to fund more accelerator programs that really provide a lot of hands-on support to small businesses. What do we look for in that? For the, I'm going to focus on the direct investment program in part because that's what you mostly see here. And so the Innovation Venture Capital Fund, it's $250,000 to $3 million, so seed to Series B. So from kind of the somewhat early stage up to when that growth is just beginning to happen is where we focus. We match that with for every $2 of private capital, we can match up to $1. We require the companies to stay in the state of New York for 3 years after they receive our funding. And we have that program overseen by an external advisory committee led by industry experts in both venture as well as particular industry sectors. For the new pre-seed and seed fund, it's $50,000 to $250,000 with a 1-to-1 match, a 1-year requirement for New York State. It's an application through our website at ESD. And it's managed currently by our internal team. What criteria do we look for? This is an important thing. This is our very first pass filter. What are we wanting? What impact are we wanting to see for New York State? We look at what sector they're serving. Is it climate, clean tech? Is it healthcare, life sciences, agricultural technology? All the things that we care about relative to the things that we want to see stay and grow here. Then, of course, the diversity issue and making sure that we have good diversity among the founding teams that we work with. And lastly, the underserved geographies. And generally, a company comes to us and fits at least 2 of these 3 buckets, and we'll go further and do additional diligence, and that includes understanding the market that they serve, how their product that they're proposing actually fits in that market. Do the customers want it? It seems so basic, but you'd be surprised. Their go-to-market strategy, how do they plan to reach the customers in a sustainable and efficient way? Do they have a team that we believe can make it happen? Is it a sustainable competitive advantage? And do they have the ability to raise the additional capital? We only give them a portion of what they'll need. For the Innovation Venture Capital Fund, this is just a quick, I know it's a busy slide, but these are all the companies that, for that particular program, that direct investment program that we've served, there's 63 of them, and you can see the bars at the top as far as the industries that those companies are in currently. And then I wanted to also share the map of, and this is across the entire.
Go back to the other chart.
This one?
Yeah, you could slow down a little bit. We got to use.
Well, Debbie said I had 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Have you taken a breath yet? No, it's fascinating. And so this was, as you said, a busy slide. It was just very cool to see them all. And so, let us just take a peek, and before you move on to the other, it's very impressive.
Thank you. Kintra is one that you guys just made an investment in a couple weeks ago for a polyester thread replacement clean energy climate will be great for the textile industry here if that one begins to take off. But I could talk all day about any of these, Kevin, so be careful what you ask for. All right. And then the impact map by region, this is across all of the programs since 2010. Again, 60% of the companies are outside of New York City, 40% in, and they're kind of sprinkled around the state at this point. This is the team.
Can I ask
Yeah,
a question
yeah.
on the map? I'm just curious about the, so I read that as number of sort of completed investments in each of those regions, is that correct?
Yes, true.
Does the pipeline of opportunity map up to the sort of finalized investments? The question I'm really getting at is, like, do you see some places where your conversion rate is higher, you're getting a better quality of company that's knocking on your door? Are there some places, whether it be like the Mohawk Valley, for instance, where the pipeline's just not robust enough? I'm just really curious how that informs some of the downstream programming strategy.
Liz will be very happy for my answer for this, but the accelerator programs that we have in some of those regions, so Genius, New York, and your region, 43 North, those have had a big impact, as do the universities, obviously. Ithaca has, Southern Tier has a number of companies, 17, a lot of those are in Ithaca. We've got a few that are light. Obviously, the eastern half of the state is a little sad right now, so we've got to start to dig in a little bit more on that side to see how we can improve. But the pipeline does kind of translate well where the universities are, where the ideas are being created, as well as some of those accelerators that are driving activity in those regions.
Thank you.
The team that's making it happen, I have a team of 8 plus 1 joining soon. They're all working really hard these days because we've got a lot of new money to put to work. So thank them if you get a chance to see them. And then I am happy to take a breath and answer any questions.
Very good, very impressive, Jennifer. I have a couple of questions. In terms of, now these are all investments. So we are like a venture capital with these companies.
True.
So we'll share in the successes of these, and when I say we, the New York State taxpayers will share in some of the successes here. Is that correct?
Yeah, I tell entrepreneurs when they take a check from us, they're ultimately, if they are successful, it pays it forward to the next set of entrepreneurs because we take any of those returns and we plow them back into the programs, the innovation programs that we have in the small business division.
Got it. And I understand, I know most startups, unfortunately, do not make it, and they fail. What type of track record do we have with the companies that we're invested in? I know I've heard stats like 9 out of 10 startups will fail, so only 1 will make it. Are our numbers comparable to that, or are we better than that, or?
We're generally about probably where the industry is. Our program is a little newer, but we've had, I think, 7 exits. We've had 5 failures, so we're trending okay, and then a lot of companies that are still operating and running and growing.
Got it. And last question is, I know when we were trying to help the startup community on Long Island, we created this entity called Accelerate Long Island, which then became Accelerate New York, which I know we partnered with you guys on. The fear or the feeling always was, if some of these companies took money from California or Boston or outside New York, those VCs were going to say, well, you want our money? We want you to move to Boston, or we want you to move to Silicon Valley. And so I saw we had a 3-year requirement for them to stay in New York. Is that sort of the most we could do, or is that something we could insist on, maybe a longer period of time, so we don't invest in them and then they pack up and leave after a few years?
Yeah, I feel like the 3-year number allows them to get established, to start to build and grow the team, especially in those early stages, and it's hard for them to leave after that, right? So I think that actually is a fair number, and it's one that most of the entrepreneurs are. It also tests the waters of whether or not they're really committed to being in New York versus just like, oh, I'll come and do it for a year. Rather than, 3 years is actually a real commitment for families, for people, employees. So I actually, could we go longer? It's definitely something that we have to negotiate with all the lawyers on the other side. Right. But 3 years is usually one that we can get through without a problem.
Got
I
it.
think it's a careful balance, as we've learned in our own work and partnering with Jennifer and others, around what you don't want to do is make the company less attractive for additional follow-on investment, right? You want to keep them here, but you don't want to tip that scale to the point where your rules are so restrictive that outside capital doesn't flow in, because it's that leveraged outside capital that really lets companies grow and scale.
That makes sense, Rob. You know, I lied, I had one other question. So if we invest in a company that's successful and we get a nice return, does that have to go into the big black hole of the Albany state budget, or does that go into a pool of funds that we could then use to reinvest in other companies?
We currently use it to reinvest in other companies.
Don't tell anybody.
Very good, but that's good. So we got this, an opportunity to have it almost be a revolving fund.
Yeah,
in
it
a
helps.
way.
Yeah, we're kind of funding our own operations, so.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
I just make one observation here, and full disclosure, obviously we run the Genius Accelerator program, so we have a vested interest in the state's sort of commitment to innovation. But I want to talk at the sort of systems level. The opportunity for these kinds of investments right now in New York State, to me, has never been better. I think startup companies really flow from one of three critical sort of drivers, right? The first is private market demand, and I think whether it's projects like Micron, you're seeing a significant opportunity in markets like things like IoT, for instance, where there are new reasons for companies to be here, to innovate here, to create new businesses. They also flow from regulatory opportunities, and I think whether it's CLCPA or some of the other things the state has done around climate, is we've seen even just in the economic development pipeline, companies who are watching New York's regulatory moves and seeing an opportunity with a new market that is being created to innovate, grow, and capture market share. And then third, sort of flow out of universities and research. And the federal government is finally back in the game of funding research at a level that they haven't since World War II. And so all of the conditions that we're watching and tracking are lining up for a remarkable opportunity to build new businesses around those three market drivers. And so for the state to have tools and resources to be in that game is a remarkable opportunity that we should be capitalizing on. So kudos to you and your team. Just want to reinforce the work that's being done and the strategic value I think it has across the state portfolio.
Great. Well said, Rob. Thanks. Any other questions for Jennifer? Well, Jennifer, terrific presentation.
Thank you.
And maybe you could share your PowerPoint with Debbie, who could then share it with the board members. So for the ones you went a little bit fast on, we could we could look at it. We could look at again. But very well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Great. So that allows us now to move on with the rest of the agenda with all the various action items. And we'll go to the regional projects section, and we will start in the Finger Lakes region with Laura Fox O'Sullivan. Is she one of the
Yes.
women you just mentioned got promoted?
Well, she just come on board.
Oh, she just came on board. So our new regional director of the ESD Finger Lakes region. Congratulations, Laura. Welcome aboard. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, directors. This feels like old hat already. This is my second ESD board meeting, so I don't feel so new, but thank you for the welcome. So we have two projects today. The first one is for the former Medley Center Mall redevelopment Phase 1 capital. We are asking the directors to approve a $2 million capital grant to the Skyview Phase 1 LLC from the Regional Capital Grant Fund Round 7. The grant supports the first phase of the adaptive reuse of the former vacant Medley Center Mall located in the town of Irondequoit, a nearly $12 million project. The mall opened in 1990, and when it was fully closed in 2009, it was the largest vacant building in Monroe County, containing approximately 1 million square feet. The grantee acquired the property through auction in 2016 with the intent to renovate the property for a multi-use and multi-tenant facility through several phases. The first phase of the project included the renovation of the former food court in the mall into a 41,000 square foot community center, including meeting spaces and fitness facilities. The Phase 1 project also includes renovation of the former mall's main entrances, landscaping, exterior lighting updates, and parking improvements. Additional project phases will include comprehensive building envelope and mechanical repairs and renovations for residential, retail, and office uses. This project was completed in October of 2021. Can I take any questions about this first project?
Any questions?
Yeah, this is Hilda. Is there any affordable housing going on in the Medley Center?
I think I have Jay and Steve Golding on the line who have been working on this project. Can either of you answer that question? I guess they're not on the line. I believe that that will be for future phases. The first phase did not include housing.
Okay.
But I'm pretty certain that it's a mixed housing moving forward for future phases.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions?
Oh, okay, Hilda. Steve just popped in and said that future phases will include senior housing.
Okay.
Unclear the income breakdown for that, but there will be senior housing in future phases.
Okay. Thank you.
So I will move it. Hilda will second it.
Yes.
Any other questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Next item, Laura?
Yep. Second project, we are asking the directors to approve a $20 million working capital grant to NextCore Inc. from the Local Assistance Innovation Venture Competition Program for the Luminate New York program. NextCore is located in downtown Rochester and administers the Luminate New York program. Luminate is the world's largest accelerator program for startups developing optics, photonics, and imaging-enabled technologies. The successful program invests funds through a competitive process, providing critical support to early-stage companies to bring their technologies to market and expand their businesses in both the U.S. and global markets. Through each competitive cohort, Luminate selects 10 companies to each receive an initial investment of $100,000. After intensive coursework, mentoring, and networking, a $1 million follow-on investment will be made in one company and another $1 million investment distributed to an additional 3 to 4 companies. The grant supports the continued operation of the program through cohorts 6 through 9. ESD funded the first 2 cohorts beginning in 2017 with a $10 million URI grant, and cohorts 3 through 5 in 2019 with a $15 million URI grant. Through the first 5 cohorts, over 700 applications for the program have been submitted, with Luminate investing in 53 companies. Companies receiving an investment must remain in New York State for no less than 12 months. May I answer any questions about this project?
Yes. Laura, you used the term grant twice and the term investment twice. Are these grants to companies, or are these investments, or are they both?
They are investments. I believe we're
Grant
going
to
to have.
NextGen not-for-profit.
I'm sorry, say that again?
It's a grant to the not-for-profit NextGen Inc., who then in turn
Makes
does the
investments.
investments. Yep.
Got it. But these do not come under Jennifer's New York Ventures program? These are handled separately?
Yeah, they're a network of accelerators that we have throughout the state that you mentioned.
Got it.
Yes.
So those not-for-profits administer those
Right.
investments, like I guess we did with Accelerate Long Island back in the day.
They do
And-
create opportunity for our team to further invest in the ones that are successful.
Oh, so maybe then New York Ventures could, if they're successful, could be an opportunity for you guys to invest in later.
Yes.
And the NISTAR division works with all the accelerators as a cohort.
Got it. Are all the accelerators under NISTAR now?
Well, they get funded through through a variety of ways, but from a management point of view, working directly with all of them for best practices, et cetera, and also to make sure that companies are getting the additional kinds of support that they need through the resources that we have.
Got it. And this particular one came out of the URI monies?
Originally, yes.
Last year, the governor included one pot of funding to allow us to align more of the business plan and accelerator competitions. So Matt Watson and the NISTAR folks have started to, try to consistent standards and graduation, so that was from Governor Hochul in last year's budget.
Got it.
That's where this is funded from, is out of that pot, I believe.
Right.
And do they have to be under the, sort of the technology umbrella, or could they be agricultural startups or life sciences startups, or is it
Right.
mostly in the technology field?
Yes, there's 8 different competitions at the moment. We're working on one for Long Island in life sciences, and some of them have very specific technology focuses, like Luminate, which
Right.
really is the world leader in this field. Others are for earlier stage companies, helping them develop business plans and everything in between.
Great.
Grow New York is an ag focus.
Right.
Statewide, I think.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm familiar with that one. Oh, sounds very good. I will move it. Sherry, you want to second it?
I will second it.
Any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? The motion carries. Laura, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll head to the Capital Region. We have Michael Yavoli, our Regional Director of ESD's Capital Region.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, all. Today, I'm requesting the directors approve a $2,750,000 capital grant to Redbird Real Estate Opportunity Partners, LP, for a portion of it associated with the construction and historic renovation of several properties, including medical office spaces, a mixed-use building with retail and market-rate apartments, as well as parking on parcels that were comprised of empty buildings and vacant lots in the heart of downtown Schenectady in Schenectady County. The project was a Round 4 Downtown Revitalization Initiative project. The total project cost was just over $23 million. Redbird Real Estate Opportunity Partners LP is a privately owned real estate development company located in Schenectady, New York. One of the primary goals of Redbird is to invest in areas that have been historically disadvantaged and to help communities rebuild. 15 parcels in downtown Schenectady selected to be revitalized as part of this project were old, mostly vacant and abandoned buildings that had been neglected for many years and left in derelict, unusable conditions. The project, located in the Schenectady DRI, sought funding through the program to the sheer size and number of parcels being developed. They were awarded, and the project was assigned to ESD. The project, in the end, has created 50,000 square feet of medical office space, a mixed-use building with 3,000 square feet of retail space and 67 market-rate apartments, and 180 new parking spaces. This, because it was DRI, this is not like a job creation project, but I think it's important to note that the 3 medical offices employ over 71 people and see over 400 patients daily. So that's quite a bit of activity in this section of downtown that was relatively was a ghost town in essence. And I think another thing to note is that there was a tenant, Bank of America. There is a tenant, Bank of America, that occupies 6,500 square feet. They have already gave notice that they are leaving that space. So it's really important to get a group like Redbird involved in these properties at that stage, because they already have backfill plans for that space, which, just by experience, bank buildings in downtown stay vacant for quite some time until somebody comes and picks them up. So this is a great opportunity there. Happy to answer any questions.
Great. Hey, Mike, I remember about 6 or 7 years ago when I was chairing the casino location board for the state, and we picked a casino in Schenectady. I remember walking parts of the downtown there. Is this project anywhere near where the new casino is in Schenectady, which was supposed to help revitalize that part of the town?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the casino is about a mile, 2 miles away, but the DRI actually was focused on connecting that to downtown. So this is right on Main Street, State Street in Schenectady, right next to Proctor's Theater. So Chairman, if you could get back up and take a look to see what's happened since the casino has been put in place, that Mohawk Harbor development where it's located, took since the day I was born, a vacant industrial site that was one of the worst brownfields in the area, and it's got well over $400 million worth of development on it. The downtown has seen continued growth. It's been a real success story. So hopefully you could get up and take a look at some of the changes that have taken place since then.
Oh, that's great. Great to hear. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate the update. I will move it. Benson, you want a second?
Second.
Second. Any comments, questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Michael. Next up is Matt Watson, our Senior VP and Executive Director of the NISTAR.
Good morning, Board. I'm before you seeking approval for a $2.1 million working grant for Fuse Hub to continue their commercialization competition. This competition falls under the umbrella of the Innovation Venture Competition Program, and that's Kevin was just talking about that. That's a Governor Hochul program that was in the budget last year, and there are 8 competitions that fall under this program. You just heard about Luminate. Genius New York is another one that was approved back in July of 2022, and now you have the commercialization competition in front of you. This is marked as a capital region project, but that's only because Fuse Hub's headquarters is in Albany. This is actually a statewide competition, one of 2 statewide competitions that's part of the portfolio. So Fuse Hub is a designated New York MEP, designated by NISTAR, and that program is designed to help manufacturers address challenges that hamper growth. This funding dovetails nicely with that program. It is a competition that funds the furtherance of a prototype. So if a company is trying to develop the next iteration of their prototype, they can apply to this competition and can receive an award between $50,000 and $150,000. And that is an equity investment. It's done through a safe note. Fuse Hub's been running this program for over 6 years now. Last year, they received 39 applications and they made 9 awards. So, and also just to give the board a heads up, there's going to be 5 additional competitions coming your way. For those of you that weren't doing the math earlier, between the 8 and the 3 that have been approved or are about to be approved, hopefully.
Between the 5 and the 3, you mean between the 5 and the 3, that would equal 8?
Yep. Yes. Yep.
Very good. And do we allow Fuse Hub to take a piece of the actions to cover their administrative costs? Is that how they are able to operate it for us?
Yeah, that's typical of all these competitions. There's so much hand-holding that are done with these competitions to make sure that the inventor or the leadership of the company are getting the assistance they need. So what Fuse Hub does is they are very well connected with our portfolio of centers, our 29 university research centers, our portfolio that includes 30 incubators and a host of other assets. And they'll work with the company, figure out what their needs or issues are, and then they'll take them to the proper resource to address that challenge. So it's they not only provide funding, but they provide a lot of support in that manner.
Does it also include, do they help with the marketing and the promotion so companies learn about these opportunities to apply so they can compete, or is that something ESD does?
Yeah, and they're actually taking on a role of helping us with the marketing of all these competitions, all 8 of them, and soon to be 9, as Liz mentioned earlier. So they're terrific at branding and marketing, so they're heavily involved in that stuff.
All righty. Very good. Okay, well, thank you, Matt. I will move it. Do we have a second? By Rob. Any comments or questions? None. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries.
Chair.
Oops, sorry.
No.
Thank you.
Carry the motion. I just want to make a comment. This is Matt Watson's last board meeting. I want to acknowledge him. He's worked at ESD for, he's been head of NISTAR for 14 years, and actually 11 years, 14 years with the NISTAR division, and want to congratulate him for growing the portfolio and stewarding the division, and wish him well in his future endeavors.
Wow.
Thank you, Hope.
Yeah, thank you, Hope. Matt, I wasn't aware. I think I first met you when I was actually running LIPA when you were at, what, NISTAR was part of, what, NIPA at the time, or was part of something else, or?
Standalone.
I believe
we're standing
That was
alone.
during a board presentation. We were an independent organization that was merged into ESD, so we were basically like the corporation is for ESD. We were public authority.
Well, Matt, you've always been very professional and always very responsive whenever I reached out to you, and I appreciate it. Are you retiring,
Thank you.
or are you moving on to something new and exciting?
Something new and exciting. Unfortunately, in another state, so.
Oh, bummer. Yeah. Jen, we can't put a 3-year tag on it. Well, Matt, we wish you the best. Good luck and God bless you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All righty. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Hope, for that. We will move on to the Long Island region, and Kara Longworth, our Regional Director of ESD's Long Island office, has 2 items for us.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, Directors. The first project I have on today is a movie studio. Asking the Directors to approve a Regional Council capital grant of up to $400,000 to Lunar Module Park LLC, which is doing business as Grumman Studios, to pay for a portion of the facility upgrades to its studio sound stages, which is located in Bethpage, Nassau County. This project was completed in December 2021, and the total project cost was $3 million. This was a round 5 priority project for the Regional Council, and it's consistent with the strategies to create jobs and bolster the region's entertainment industry. Grumman Studios is a privately owned limited liability company. It was founded in 2008 on the 30-acre former aerospace contractor site of Grumman, which is where the Apollo lunar module was developed. The studio has 8 sound stages and is a short travel time to New York City, so it attracts many films from New York City productions. It provides studio space to large and small-scale TV and movie productions. It's hosted large movie productions such as Salt with Angelina Jolie and Spider-Man, and live events such as The Sound of Music. The studio reached out to ESD for assistance to expand its services and continue to be able to attract these large productions. The studio's plan to upgrade facilities to its sound stages, its electrical and sprinkler system infrastructure within the building, and the parking lot resurfacing. The total project cost of all these improvements was over $3 million. It is complete, as I mentioned, and they add 6 jobs. Happy to answer any questions on that project.
Great. Thank you, Kara. Any questions? No. I will move it. John seconds it. No further questions. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Kara, continue.
Great. The second project we have is for 1-800-Flowers.com. We're asking the Directors to approve a grant of up to $1 million to 1-800-Flowers.com to pay for a portion of the cost of the renovation and purchase of equipment for its new corporate headquarters located in Jericho, which is in Nassau County. 1-800-Flowers is a publicly traded company. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. It's had its corporate headquarters on Long Island for over 30 years. It's the largest provider of gourmet foods and floral gifts with over 25% of the market share. Their previous headquarters were located in Carl Place in Nassau County. 2018, they approached us as they were looking for new offices. They were contemplating leaving New York State. They have offices in Ohio and Florida, and they were considering consolidating moving their headquarters to one of those locations. To incentivize them to stay in New York, ESD offered them $1 million grant and $1 million Excelsior tax credit, which they accepted. They to their a new facility, which is in Jericho. The company retained the 357 jobs at the new location, pursuant to the terms of the grant, and they created in excess of 52 new jobs, which was required as part of their Excelsior Award. They currently have over 417 jobs at that location. Furthermore, they invested approximately $10 million in the renovations and equipment at the new facility. The Regional Council is aware of this project as it supports the strategy to retain back office and create new high-paying jobs. The average job at this location is over $115,000. They completed this project in fall 2022 and are operating at the new location. Happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Kara. I will move it. Hilda seconds it. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Kara.
Thank you.
We'll now move to the At Direction of Projects, and we have Simone Bethune, ESD's Senior Project Manager and Coordinator of Projects for Loans and Grants.
Thank you, Chairman Law, and good morning to everyone. As a reminder, At the Direction of Grants refer to those commitments listed in the New York State budget that enhance the state's communities through cultural, educational, research, and civic organizations. These projects originate from the governor or the New York State Assembly or Senate, and ESD is named to administer the funding. ESD does not select the recipients of funding. Today, we are seeking director's approval of a $1 million appropriation made to Mohawk Valley Economic Development Growth Enterprises, doing business as Mohawk Valley Edge. This award from the Local Assistance Military Base Redevelopment Program was made available in fiscal year 2022-2023 at the direction of New York State Senator Joseph A. Griffo. MV Edge is a not-for-profit corporation founded in 1996 that serves Oneida and Herkimer counties and provides coordinated economic development programs to allow new businesses to grow and prosper in the region, along with managing key regionally transformational projects. These funds will be used for infrastructure improvements at the Griffiths Business and Technology Park. The business park is an economic hub for the Mohawk Valley region and a critical component of the drone cybersecurity and quantum research corridor in New York. Improvements will include installation of high-efficiency natural gas boilers, engineering activities, and facility improvements to serve the 7 Griffiths Local Development Corporation-owned office buildings, as well as support salaries and general operations for the Central New York Defense Alliance, doing business as CNYDA. This project ensures these properties will have energy-efficient and reliable heating systems for decades to come. The project is expected to be complete in March 2025 at a cost of approximately $3.8 million. And I can take any questions.
Thanks, Simone. Any questions? No, so I will move it. Is there a second? By Rob. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Simone. We will now go to the Reimagine Workforce Preparation Grant Program. We have Martha Otero. She's the Vice President, Entrepreneur Development and Operations.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Directors. The Directors are being requested to modify their previous April 22, 2021 approval for the allocation of $1,368,000 of New York State Department of Labor's grant from the U.S. Department of Education's Reimagine Workforce Preparation Grant for the ongoing operations to 21 Entrepreneurship Assistance Centers, instead to 3 EACs to provide entrepreneur training and follow-up support to individuals displaced by the COVID-19 and to encourage them to start a business for economic development. In June 2022, ESD received New York Department of Labor's determination on the grant deliverables, which required the EACs to provide clients with 150 hours of training, which was higher than had been anticipated. Given this new requirement, the EACs declined to participate because the grant funding was far below the operational costs necessary to meet DOL's deliverables requirement. Considering these significant changes, ESD released a new request for applications to select 4 EACs to provide 2,000 clients or 500 per EAC with 150 hours of training and grant funding up to $342,000 per grantee. 5 responses were received, but only 3 were viable proposals and deemed eligible for funding. ESD offered the applicants the opportunity to help ESD meet the deliverables of the MOU by undertaking additional client training. Based on those conversations, ESD will meet New York State DOL's requirements through the following. Queens Economic Development Corporation is proposed for an award of up to $513,000 to serve 750 clients. Suffolk County Community College is proposed for an award of up to $513,000 to serve 750 clients. Urban League of Rochester is proposed for an award of up to $342,000 to serve 500 clients. The EACs will provide training and follow-up services to clients throughout New York State through virtual and remote accessibility. Accordingly, the directors are being requested to approve the allocation of the previously approved $1,368,000 to support the ongoing operations of the 3 EACs to provide a total of 2,000 clients with 150 hours of entrepreneurial training and follow-up support to individuals displaced by COVID-19, and to encourage them to start a business for economic development during the 18-month grant period. I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Thank you, Martha. Any questions for Martha? There are none. I will move it. We have Benson as a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Martha.
Thank you.
Okay. We next have Marcia Mitchell, Director of New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund. Marcia?
Good morning, directors. We are requesting approval for an investment of $600,000 in the $2 million Series A3 financing round for NOPSEC, Inc. This round extension expands the company's Series A round to a total of $7.6 million. NOPSEC is a vulnerability management platform that helps cybersecurity professionals effectively manage and prioritize threats in order to make better informed decisions. Prior to founding the company, CEO Lisa Hsu was the Senior Director of IT Risk Management at Ally Financial and a Director of IT Risk Advisory at KPMG. In this capacity, she designed a cybersecurity program for the business's commercial finance operations, both in North America and in the EU. The company is based in Brooklyn, New York. One of the largest challenges that cybersecurity analysts encounter is the high frequency of warnings that security systems generate. While 81% of companies say threat intelligence is critical to incident response, ingesting this information is time-consuming. 70% of enterprise companies struggle to keep up with the volume of alerts from security analytics systems. This creates 11,000 alerts on average every day. NOPSEC uses machine learning to categorize and prioritize these threats for these businesses. In order to fund its activities over the next 18 months, NOPSEC is raising $2 million in a Series A3 financing. The New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund will invest $600,000 into the round, with the balance being provided by private sector investors led by Blue Venture Investors. As part of the due diligence process, New York Venture staff and an external investment advisory committee, or the IAC, evaluated the company's business plan and growth prospects, as well as the terms of the investment outlined in Schedule A. As a result of that analysis, the New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund and the IAC both agree that the market opportunity and growth potential offered by NOPSEC warrants an investment by the fund and recommend its approval. I will stop there for any questions. Thank you very much.
All right, well, thanks, Marcia. So, and now, Jen, this comes under
Marcia's on.
your program. And when you, so internally, you and your team vet these companies, and then we have non-ESD employees and investment advisory committee also chimes in and gives their recommendation as well?
Yeah, we meet with them monthly to review all of our opportunities that we're considering for investment before they come to the board.
Got it. So you guys screen them first, you present them to the advisory committee, they make their recommendation, and then we approve.
Yes.
Sounds like a very, thoughtful process. Yeah. Very good. All right. Any other questions? Marcia? So I will move it. Rob seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you, Marcia. Next up, the Utica Crescent mixed-use project that is not in Utica, New York, but is in Brooklyn. And I believe we have Doug McPherson. We have Doug McPherson on the phone. He's our Senior Director of Real Estate Development. Sorry, Doug.
Thank you, Sharon. Good morning. And apologies for any confusion with the name of the project might cause. I'm from the real estate team, and today we're presenting on the Utica Crescent mixed-use project. As the chair mentioned, this is the third time we are bringing Utica Crescent to the directors. And this morning, we're asking the directors to adopt a second modification to the general project plan to affirm a determination of no significant effect on the environment and to authorize ESD staff to take related actions. These steps would allow ESD to schedule a public hearing on the proposed GPP modification and commence a 30-day comment period. As you may recall, the proposed Utica Crescent mixed-use project is the redevelopment of a surface parking lot in East Flatbush owned by the One Brooklyn Health System into a new building that would include affordable housing and related amenity spaces, retail space, community facility space, and off-street parking spaces. The project will be undertaken by Monadnock Development, which was selected as the designated developer by ESD and HCR through an RFP process that concluded in 2020. Since the adoption of the original GPP and the first modification of the same in 2022, the development team discovered a restrictive covenant that encumbers a portion of the site and prohibits the development of multifamily housing on that portion. To help the proposed project adapt in light of this discovery, we are asking the directors to adopt a GPP modification that would shift bulk on the site away from the portion of the site that is currently encumbered, while keeping the number of units unchanged and minimizing the impact of the total amount of community space, retail space, and off-street parking. These changes are memorialized in updated design guidelines, which are included in your materials. And a technical memorandum or tech memo has been prepared that found that there would be no new or substantially different environmental impacts created by any of the changes being proposed. You'll find further detail on the aforementioned changes in your materials, but I'm happy to take any questions from the directors at this time.
Great. Thank you, Doug. Any questions? None? I will move it. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? The motion carries. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Next up is all the administrative action items that will be presented in summary format with one vote on all 4 items. And we have Doug Janice, our senior counsel, I believe, making these presentations.
Thank you, Chairman Law, and good morning, directors. As the chairman just mentioned, in order to help streamline our board meetings, we've previously implemented an oral summary presentation process in connection with these administrative actions. So you receive a full set of the written materials for each of the items in your board materials as you have for this meeting. But rather than having individual oral presentations made on each, I'll just provide a brief summary of the items. And as the chairman indicated at the conclusion of the summary, we'll take any questions or comments you have, and then you can take one vote.
So just one note, I am recused on one of these.
Yeah, so we'll note that item 7A, that Sherry Gleed has recused herself from participating in that matter. Thank you, Sherry.
So our first item, 7A, is a life sciences initiative relative to a contract extension for management and application processes and mentoring services for the $40 million New York Biodefense Commercialization Fund. Staff is seeking the director's approval for a 6-month extension of the contract with Columbia Technology Ventures, or CTV, for their continued management of the New York Biodefense Commercialization Fund. The extension is not to exceed $225,000, and it ensures that ESD can successfully complete the current application cycle and onboard new grantees to pair with their mentors. The initial contract, approved by the ESD Board of Directors in May of 2021, was a single source procurement given the unique expertise of CTV, and they have successfully implemented a multitude of tasks vital to the implementation and continued management of this fund, including application management, marketing, stakeholder outreach, and mentoring services. Our next item is 7B, and it's relative to the authorization to enter into a contract amendment with Goldman, Antonetti, and Cordova LLC to continue to provide legal services in connection with the New York State Office of Trade and Tourism office space in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. So this is a request to amend the contract with Goldman, Antonetti, and Cordova LLC for legal services in connection with the aforementioned office. The current contract commenced on April 1st, 2022, and will expire on March 31st of 2024. The amendment will increase the contract value by $60,000 for a total of $96,000. There's a continuing need for legal advice and services of local counsel, as demonstrated by changes to liquor licenses, permits, and local tax filings that affect the Puerto Rico office operations and have affected the amount of legal fees needed to complete the same. And the funding source for this has been updated to a New York State budget appropriation. Third item, 7C, is an authorization to enter into an amended contract with Sidley Austin LLP to continue to provide legal services in connection with the Buffalo Bills Stadium project. Directors are being asked to authorize an amendment to a contract with Sidley Austin, the law firm, and specifically a partner in the firm, Irwin Rye, has led the negotiations for the state regarding construction of the new stadium for the Buffalo Bills. The amendment will increase the contract amount from $500,000 to $900,000 and will allow the firm to provide legal services to ESD that are needed to complete the project. Our fourth and final item, 7D, is relative to the authorization to amend a contract with Sive, Paget, and Riesel, PC, to provide environmental legal services in connection with the Bronx Psychiatric Center development. The directors are being asked to approve a one-year extension of ESD's current $49,000 contract with Sive, Paget, and Riesel for environmental legal services related to the disposition of a portion of the Bronx Psychiatric Center. And with that, I will now turn back over to our chair, who will call for any questions or comments you may have on any of these items before calling for a vote. We also have item-related staff on the line today as well to take any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Do any board members have any questions for Doug on any of these items? Hearing none, I will move them. Hilda seconds them. Note that Sherry is abstaining and recusing herself. And so with that in mind, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. With Sherry's abstention, the motion is approved. Thank you, Doug. There's one for information item on our agenda regarding the cumulative quarterly budget variance reports. And Ray, is there anything in there that we need to be concerned about or not be able to sleep tonight regarding any variances in our budget?
Well, you can leave the not sleeping to me, and I've actually been sleeping pretty well.
Very good. I wish I could say the same, but very good. So, but, that's for our information in our board package. Does any board member have any other item they wish to raise at this time? Hearing none. Our next board meeting is Thursday, March 23rd, here in New York City. Should be in the midst of March Madness by then, so it'll be exciting. And with that, I will make a motion to adjourn, seconded by Rob. All in favor, of course, aye. Thank you, staff and Hope, for your team's presentations today. It was a very good meeting, and we look forward to seeing you all in March. Meeting is adjourned.
Excellent.
Good.
Goody.